He is my favorite attorney, Jeremy Rosenthal. And as I said, my favorite attorney, do you have anything else you want to say, Mr. Rosenthal, about your favorite radio personality?
You're my favorite radio host. Now, here's the question, Chris. Am I the only lawyer that you know? Because if I am and I'm still your favorite, that doesn't lessen it in my mind.
Hey, listen, I've been in trouble a lot with the law growing up, so I've unfortunately known a lot of lawyers. So you are my favorite one. Maybe it's because I'm not in trouble. That's why you're my favorite.
Well, I'm going to have to say, Jeremy, my favorite one is the state's attorney, Charlie Smith, because he's the state's attorney in case I ever get in trouble for punching my coworker. my second favorite would be Denny Crane.
Not bad. Yeah, I do my best. We try to emulate him,
Well, we do love having you. We do love having you on here. And Bob, well, Jeremy's on for a reason. What's the reason?
Well, we're going to talk about the fact that it looks like the cover-up, and we don't really know that it's a cover-up, but we're pretty certain that Joe Biden really didn't know that the bills were being signed, because we know that the use of the Autopen, and as a matter of fact, there's another story out there that I saw that the Autopen staffers could be in some hot water right now.
Interesting stuff. So think about when we talk about things like this. The Texas Transportation Code is 2,178 pages. It tells you how high off the ground your fog lights need to be. It tells you what wattage the lights have to be over your license plate. It is very specific. Also in Texas, for example, Chapter 18 of the Penal Code says that you have to have a search warrant signed in a particular manner. The Constitution, when you're pardoning somebody, for instance, doesn't say that. It doesn't say it could be an oral pardon. It could be, in theory, it could be an oral pardon, although I don't know that you would worry about that thing sticking. But there's no method legally prescribed, because the Constitution is 12 pages, 14-point font with pictures. It's not very descriptive. So if you're going to try, so even if these things are true, which that's a nightmare proving that they're true. But even if these things are true, it would be an act of Congress, if you will, to overturn them. And even then that might not work. So there's a lot of machinations. I don't know that they're going to add up to anything that's real. It's just too legally impossible.
We're talking with Jeremy Rosenthal. I remember Speaker of the House Johnson saying, he didn't remember. He didn't remember that he signed an executive order that he did like 3 weeks, prior to his, resigning and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I just don't know. I mean, we all know that presidents have used the Autopen throughout history, but I don't know how many times they're used to sign laws into effect.
Think about it like this. So, and this is kind of a scary proposition, if you will. I mean, think about it like this. Right. I mean, does somebody who launched the nuclear missiles have to have authorization? And what happens if it's the wrong guy who's launching them? Does it matter? Right. At that point, I don't think it does. I think that if they're launched, they're launched. If somebody signs a law, it's supposedly signed. And so think about it. So I will do what we call in the legal parlance, we will put on our lawyers' hats here. And we will think, okay, well, how would this resolve in court? So let's say, for argument's sake, let's say we prosecute Hunter Biden, who was pardoned with, had a 10-year window. Let's say the Department of Justice prosecutes him. Hunter Biden shows up with his pardon and says, here's my pardon. And then the Department of Justice says that that pardon is no good because it was signed with an Autopen and there's no proof that the actual president of the United States authorized it. Hunter Biden would then come back and say, the burden is on you, government, to show that, not me, which you would probably be right. And then the government would say, okay, well, now we're going to call Joe Biden to testify. Objection, executive privilege, that's sustained. We'll call your assistant. Well, Your Honor, under Trump v. United States, that is an official act and you can't go there. So that's why functionally, so the point is, even if, let's say that's right, even if Hunter Biden snuck in and pardoned himself, good luck proving it. That's what makes this mountain so impossible to climb, even if there are shenanigans. Which that's the scary part, right? But that's, so putting my lawyer hat on, that's kind of how I see this ultimately getting resolved, if anything ever came to a head over it.
So you kind of answered my next question a little bit, because I was kind of wondering, in your opinion, not so much lawyer opinion, but your opinion, are Republicans making too much of a big deal of this? Are the Democrats kind of playing it down too much? I personally think the Republicans are making a huge deal out of this. It's been done a long time, and there's so many other fish to fry, as they say right now with government.
I think this is a little show. I think it's a little showy. And look, I mean, ultimately, and the reason being is I mean, look, I just don't see this going anywhere. And you have to have, if you're going to challenge this Autopen, if you're going to challenge this, if I was challenging a search warrant under Chapter 18 in Texas, and I said this is not a legitimate signature, it's an Autopen, I might win that, because there is a rule I can point to that says it has to be signed by a judge, right? When you're talking about federal legislation necessarily, there's no rule that says anywhere how that has to be signed. Or a pardon, like I said, in theory, I think a pardon could be oral, right? So, I mean, again, I mean, that good luck with that, right? I mean, Joe Biden pardoned me. He told me that in the Oval Office. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, we're still going to go forward with this. That's not gonna cut it. But legally, there's just it's just too muddy. And yes, you've got Congress involved, and you're sort of, if you're the Republicans, you're kind of making an overarching point of, look, the guy in here beforehand was a little bit out of it, and there's a cover up, and those are political points, a lot more in my mind than they are legal ones.
Well, but if the Autopen machine is right beside the snack machine, and anybody can use it, and I think the other issue that Republicans have is not necessarily the pardons, but who was making the decisions, when we all know that the mental acuity of Joe Biden was failing, and was he of sound mind and saying, yeah, go ahead and do this, or was somebody else pulling the strings? And I think that's what we need to find out.
Okay, so let's think about, we'll put our lawyer hats on. How's that? We'll do that again. I've got a lot of lawyer hats. They're very expensive, by the way. I paid my lawyer hat off, my bar card off. Yeah, that's an expensive little piece of plastic right there. But putting our lawyer hat on again. So let's take this from two different standpoints. Let's say, so we already talked about, let's try to set aside legislation because we don't think that was authorized. You've got a problem there because the 25th Amendment is how we deal with an incapacitated president. The cabinet comes in, they vote, they said this guy can't do the job for whatever reason, had a stroke, whatever. This person is incapacitated. The cabinet steps in, and then the vice president takes over. That would be one way. And because the 25th Amendment wasn't invoked, I don't know that you could set that legislation aside. Now, let's play this another way, right? Let's say, for instance, I'm Hunter Biden and I sign my own pardon, or I do something. Now, that would be a criminal act in and of itself, wouldn't it? So in that instance, you could try to prosecute somebody in the executive branch for trying to do that. Again, it's going to be very, very hard to permeate all the privileges and all the executive layers that you have to do to try to get in there to try to do that. That would be very hard, because if you're Congress or the Department of Justice and you start subpoenaing computer records and things like that to try to find out who's got access to what, you're going to hit a ton of executive privileges. And the judge is going to say, okay, is this a fishing expedition? Because if it is, we're not going to let you dig anywhere and everywhere into the Biden administration's records to do this. We're just not going to let you do that. But if you have something, if you've got some proof, if you've got some statements, if you've got some 2 or 3 affidavits from people who we ought to believe here, right? People close to Joe Biden who have no reason to out the guy unless they're saying, yeah, that's how that would get resolved in my mind. Fun theoretical things, practically speaking, these are textbook things.
Bob, he wears many, many hats, lawyer, political commentator, father, and friend of the Morning News Express. Jeremy Rosenthal, real quickly, want to plug you here.
Yeah.
Tried over 200 jury cases and was a prosecutor before becoming a defense attorney. You've done it all, my friend, and we always appreciate you coming on the air with us.
Have a great day, guys.
Thank you,
Take
sir.
care.
Very much so.
He's good.
Still no Denny Crane. But
He is. I tell you, nobody breaks it down like he does.
No,
I mean,
that's right.
He just does an amazing job.